I love vintage sewing machines. In an effort to keep my collection reasonable, I try not to buy these machines, but rather allow them to surface in my life in unexpected and delightful ways. And surface they do. I am only human, however, and not immune to the siren song of online selling platforms. Sometimes I make myself a cozy cup of tea and wander the wilds of eBay, Etsy, and Facebook Marketplace. You know, just to see what's out there. And sometimes I find what's out there. And sometimes I fall in love. And sometimes I can't help myself. So yeah, I got another sewing machine. I keep referring to the purchase as impulsive, but it's really not. I have a wish list of vintage sewing machines I would love to get my hands on someday. The Elna Grasshopper has been at the top of that list for years, like 7 or 8 of them. So when I came across a particularly enticing one on eBay, I took the leap. So in this video, I thought I would show you the machine while I behold it for the first time, tell you what intrigued me so much about it, and test it out. Okay, how do I do this safely? Maybe I'll use scissors. I gotta stand up for this. Cardboard for my nephew. He's gonna love it. Oh! I'm so excited. Okay, deep breath. Before I open this up further, this feels like a good opportunity to tell you the first reason I wanted this machine, and that is the clever engineering. First of all, this is a portable machine. It comes in a metal box that looks a bit like an old ammunition can. According to an article I found in a 1950 magazine, it comes only in the portable model because it is the company's theory that when a woman finishes sewing, she wants to get the machine out of the way. I mean, sure, I guess. This military-style case, however, does more than just house and carry the machine. It also Guys, wait, what is going on in here? Where's my phone? I need to show this to you. Why is this happening? The seller sent it to me threaded, which I suppose is very nice, but it's gotten all wound up in the machine. I'm going to free it. Oh, my goodness. All right, my love. Okay. Ooh, maybe this. Okay, so before all that, I wanted to show you that the carrying case here folds out into an extension table. This gives you more of a work surface for your fabric as you are handling and sewing your project. I've been waiting to see one of these in person for so long. Another feature I really love on this machine is that it is operated by a knee lever. So this folds out like this, and I'm actually going to test this in a little bit, but the idea is that as you are sitting at the machine, you push your knee to the side here, it pushes the lever, and that runs the machine. You'll see this on other machines as well. I think most of mine are run by foot pedals, so this just feels a bit unique. The Elna Grasshopper is made of a molded aluminum, which is a departure from the cast iron that typified other machines of this era. So altogether, the Elna Grasshopper weighs about 7 kilograms, or roughly 15 pounds. Compare this to my Singer 1591, which weighs 27 pounds. So this machine really was made to be a streamlined little portable. I just love the way everything is designed to be unfolded, used, packed up, carried around, and unfolded again. It's just So clever. Okay, I've removed the case to get this little lady more in shot. So the second reason that I was so intrigued by the Elna Grasshopper is the aesthetics. The color, the shape, the way the knee lever bends out like this, it really does look like a grasshopper. What's funny though is that grasshopper isn't actually the name that the company gave the machine, but rather a nickname that was bestowed upon it during its 12 years of production. Tavaro S.A., the original name of the company before it became Elna, simply called this model Elna No. 1. It was designed in the 1930s by a Spanish engineer named Dr. Ramon Casas Robert. According to the company's history, he was forced to emigrate to Switzerland when the Spanish Civil War started. Penniless and from a hotel room in Geneva, he sold the patents for this machine to Tavaro, and the first Elnas left the factory in 1940. So when was my machine made? You can tell by checking two different places on the machine. If we turn this here, you lift this flap. The serial number is stamped right here. The first digit of this number corresponds to the year of manufacture. But because the Elna was made between 1940 and 1952, a 0, a 1, or a 2 could mean early 40s or early 50s. But there's another place that we can check to get a bit more specific. So this is the cover plate, and if you slide it to the side, there's a little number down here, and it says 1050, and so that corresponds to the month and the year. So this machine was manufactured in October of 1950. At the time, these machines were sold for about $179, at least in the United States. I consulted an inflation calculator, and that's about $2,500 US. So these machines really were household investments. The third reason I was really captivated by this machine is because it is a free arm machine. What does that mean? A free arm is this tubular-shaped bed that houses the bobbin feeder. So when you're using it, you can wrap fabrics around it rather than simply resting them on top. This makes certain tasks like darning, hemming, and sewing sleeves much simpler. To reference that 1950 article again, the housewife can slip a boy's sock with a chewed-out heel on this arm, and in a few minutes darn it so smoothly that the patching is scarcely visible. I do much of my sewing with my vintage machines, and it is my ultimate goal to do all of my sewing with my vintage machines. There are certain tasks that I pull my modern one out for because it has some features that just make them easier. One of those tasks is sewing sleeves. But now that I have this Elna here, I can get one step closer to phasing out the modern machine. So really, this is filling a very important gap in my sewing. I needed it. What's more, this machine is not only a free arm, it was the first free arm available on the domestic market, as this feature was only found in industrial machines at the time. The Singer Featherweight, which is another portable aluminum machine designed in the 1930s, has their version of a free arm sewing machine, the highly sought after 222K. Haven't seen one in person yet, but one day. But that wasn't made until 1953, so an entire 13 years after the Elna came onto the market. So this machine really was an innovation for its time. If you are a sewing machine nerd like me, it's just very special to have a piece of that history. I can't believe I do, I just love it. So that's why I wanted the Elna Grasshopper in general, and now I'm going to tell you why I wanted this particular machine. Reason number one is that it seemed to be in really good condition. Personally, I love a restoration project and even gravitate toward machines that need a little extra help, but I figured if I was going to pay to ship a hunk of metal, even if it is aluminum, from one state to another, I didn't really want to do things like hunt down missing parts or rewire a motor. And while an eBay listing isn't the same thing as seeing something in person, I could tell that this machine was complete. When you look at secondhand listings for the Elna Grasshopper, there are a few components that are commonly missing. However, they are all accounted for on this machine. Those parts are the thread spool holder. Sometimes I see that this has been broken off on the machine, the bottom half of the knee lever, the power cord, which I have in this bag here, and the accessories box. So my machine didn't come packaged this way, but when you fold it up, this box nests very nicely right there. Now I haven't opened it yet, but I'm very excited about what's inside. So let's take a look. So what do we have here? First of all, we have some tools for maintenance, like these 2 screwdrivers, as well as this lint brush. There are several extra bobbins, which is great. This is the darning plate. You use it to cover the feed dogs on the machine, and that makes tasks like embroidery possible. There are some different presser feet to do different sewing tasks. This is called the speed reducer, and you put this on the machine basically to put the motor into a lower gear. So you would use this when you want considerably lower sewing speeds. I think it also gives the machine more torque, and so it might be useful if you're sewing really heavy fabrics like canvas or denim. Now, I wasn't sure what this was at first, but then I realized that if you flip it over, it slots into the accessories box just like this. And because there's this groove here, you can arrange your bobbins in it. And apparently this part is also quite elusive when finding secondhand grasshoppers, so I lucked out with that. And then finally, we have something I am very excited about, and that is these. The oil cans. Oh my goodness, the oil cans. Now, did I buy this machine just for these little guys? No, I did not, but I love them. Why though are there 2? One is for sewing machine oil and one is for kerosene. The original Grasshopper manual advised using kerosene for the hook, which is part of the bobbin mechanism, and then sewing machine oil for everything else. Now, I hadn't seen kerosene recommended as a lubricant before, but the thing to remember is that the Elna Grasshopper came out in the midst of World War II, and while Switzerland was neutral, they still had a severe shortage on everything that had to be imported, like oil. So the oil that was available at the time was a thicker oil that wasn't as high of a quality. For whatever reason, the hook required nicer oil and kerosene worked better. Once a higher quality oil became available again in the 1950s, however, Elna dropped the kerosene recommendation from the manuals in the machines that followed the Grasshopper, such as the Supermatic and the Transforma. So for my machine, I plan just to use sewing machine oil for all the parts, and I will also probably clean one of these out, put a little oil in there, and use this nifty little gadget. It's very special to have these parts that really illustrate the time and place that the machine debuted. Speaking of manuals, the third reason that I wanted this particular machine is that it comes with not 1, but 2 manuals. One is in Dutch and one is in German. Do I speak Dutch? Nay. Do I speak German? Nein. But I really love how these represent the machine's European origins. I'm familiar enough with sewing machines and sewing machine manuals that I think these will still be helpful to me, and if not, I did find a digital copy of an English manual that I can fall back on. But I'm actually quite looking forward to puzzling my way through these and maybe even learning some Dutch and German sewing terms. Okay, that was quite the history lesson. Now it is time for the really fun part, and that is going to be testing the machine. So I'm going to gather some of my sewing supplies and I'll meet you back here. Welcome back. Okay, so my goals here are to figure out how to thread the machine and the bobbin. I am just going to use the thread and the already wound bobbin that came with the machine. The thread is quite aged, but it's here, and who knows, maybe these two are already acquainted. After I do that, I'm going to make sure that the machine even turns on, and then I'm going to take a little bit of scrap fabric and see if I can get it to sew a few stitches. While I did try to get a machine that looked to be in good condition, I still intend to give it a thorough cleaning and oiling. I am way too impatient to do that before testing it out though, so we're just going to see if it works and then take some notes on what it might need moving forward. So what should we do first? How about the bobbin? So I'm going to consult my German manual first because I did actually take a little bit of German in high school. The bobbin page is here. So the bobbin goes in counterclockwise, so the thread should come off the bobbin counterclockwise. If I had any questions about that, the previous owner of this machine has actually helped me out. In the back here, they made some notes and drew a little diagram. I wonder what they used this machine to make. I'm going to interrupt for a moment because I have discovered something super cool since filming the rest of the video. I was flipping through the Dutch manual and I came across two documents tucked away inside of it. The first one is a warranty, and this is written in French, but it does have a German and Spanish translation on the back. The cool thing about this is that it is dated to October 27th, 1950. Now, we had already determined the year of manufacture by looking at the serial number, but it's pretty cool to have this confirmation here. The second document is addressed to a certain Herr Fritz Gefeller, and I believe that means secondary school teacher. And what this is an instruction notice notifying Fritz that Fräulein Roduner, sorry for my German R's, is coming on Friday, December 29th at 8:30 in the morning to provide a 2-hour lesson. So I think Elna had instructors that would go out and meet people in their homes and teach them how to use their machines. Did my best with translating what this says. It is advising that the person has their Elna unpacked and the following materials prepared: a piece of linen, a kitchen towel, and a pair of pantyhose. I don't want to make too many gender assumptions here, but I imagine this was perhaps intended for maybe Fritz's wife, because I'm thinking if it's 1950 and you've just gotten a new sewing machine and you're also a school teacher, you're most likely a woman, but I'm not going to settle on that because I really love the idea of Fritz sewing some pantyhose in 1950. Anyway, I just wanted to share these because it's just more history to the machine and I love having it. Okay, let's get back to testing. Once I had the machine threaded, I plugged it in to see if it would turn on. This is often indicated by a light bulb illuminating. Will it happen? No. Now, is that because it doesn't work or because there's no bulb in there? I'm going to unplug this and check. The light bulb is installed in here and you should be able to access it by pushing this piece this way. And then it will slide out. No, there's no light bulb. That's a bit of a relief because I was afraid she wasn't gonna work. This section here is how you adjust the stitch length, and I just put it on the biggest one. Press her foot down. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, she's strong. Ah! What? No. Can you see that? Oh, that's hard to see. It works, it works, it works. Okay, we're gonna try a couple more passes. She didn't really want to get started there, but some days I also feel like that. Okay, running start. Oh my gosh. Now, do you reverse? Can you back it up, little lady? We're sewing. We're reversing. Ooh. Oh, does anyone find this interesting? After trying a few passes on that muslin fabric, I decided to sew some tests on something that would actually show up on camera. I tested the different stitch lengths, practiced reversing, and adjusted the upper thread tension. The machine definitely loosened up the more I sewed, and I was really impressed with how responsive the speed was to the pressure I was putting on the knee lever. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the machine functions once I give it a tune-up. A sewing machine that I have wanted for years and it works. May I suggest that if you really want something that relates to a passion that brings you a lot of joy, maybe don't wait 7 or 8 years. to get it because you're definitely worth having it now, though I will say the payoff, oh, it feels so nice. So yes, I have my dream machine, one of them, and what will I do next? Well, I think the responsible thing is to give it a really thorough cleaning and oiling because as I was using it, it did feel a little sluggish and stiff in parts. I don't know when it was last used, so that's probably very understandable. But I think that really giving it some TLC is going to keep it running for years to come, which is pretty incredible. In October this year, this machine will be 76 years old. It's astonishing and very empowering to be able to keep its life going. But as far as actual projects, I have been thinking of creating a video series that focuses on repurposing household items. I have in my fabric stash quite a few secondhand linens, bed sheets and tablecloths and curtains. I have so many, in fact, that I can organize them into little collections by color. So for example, green. We have a tablecloth, a bed sheet, tablecloth. This isn't necessarily green, but it felt like it fit the vibe. I think it might be kind of fun to sew some green themed things on my green machine. I love these machines so much. I love their history. I love how evocative they are for people. I love restoring them. I even have a video about rewiring the motor on a Singer 1591. I imagine there are going to be several more vintage sewing machine videos popping up on this channel. If you find that interesting, feel free to subscribe. I hope that you learned something new watching this, and I appreciate you being here. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!